Hi girls, I'm just going to talk to you about the poem, just go through it with you so that you have an understanding of all the techniques that are appearing. Okay, the first thing that you need to be aware of is the structure of the poem. Notice how that each stanza is made up of 4 lines. Quite regular in structure until we get to the end, where suddenly the poem is broken up with a line and then repetition of I rise. Another line, out starts with, and then up, I rise. I'm a black ocean, etc. I rise. So at the beginning she's repeating a rhythm. It's a regular rhythm, and it has a rhyme to it as well. There you go. At the beginning, you notice the rhyme. You may write me down in history with your bitter twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. So it's very repetitive in structure, but it's repetitive in rhythm, and it's repetitive in terms of rhyme. And then at the end, when she suddenly changes the stanza and the number of lines and things, it's almost kind of shocking, and it suggests in a way her kind of uprising, her response to what's been happening to her. So she's done it for a purpose. Now, just to move through the poem, you, that she refers to all the time, is a direct address, and it's referring to not one person, but it's referring to sort of white America, the people that have treated her so badly. Interesting, and one thing you might want to think about here is that she talks a lot about past, because historically the Americans have been the white Americans have treated the black Americans really badly. So this poem isn't only about her now and her future hope, but it's also about her past and how she's been treated. So the you refers to white America, but not only white America now, it's also white America of her past. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. Writing down is recording history. So historically, in the history books, we see the white perspective. Okay, she's referring to that. Okay, you may trod me in the very dirt. Repetition of you. You may tread, to stamp really hard in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Now, you've got 2 images here. You've got right at the beginning, you may write me down in history. When she talks about me, she's really talking about more than just her. She's really talking about her people. And you writing them down in history, well, that in itself is a metaphor, okay? So you can be aware that that's a use of a metaphor. And then here we've got the simile, where, but still like dust I'll rise. Okay, so what makes that simile seem so significant? I think it's the fact that no matter how much you tread something down, there will always be dust. So you can't get rid of dust. You cannot remove dust. So it shows her, a nice word is her faith, her pervasiveness. That you're not going to be able to get rid of her. No matter how small you make her into such a tiny piece, she will still rise. And in fact, the irony is that the smaller she gets, the higher she'll rise. The smaller those bits of dust are, the higher they'll rise in the air. So there's a lot of irony in that image as well. Okay, now we start to see a little bit of attitude, her attitude, which is confrontational, which is a little bit cheeky, is an attitude that we see right from the beginning, because she's very confrontational. She directly addresses the reader. But now she starts to she starts to speak about her attitude. She describes her attitude as sassiness. Okay. Now, historically, a person and a black person would never ever be able to have this kind of a sassy attitude. Would never be able to have the sassy attitude to a white person. In fact, people were punished and people were lynched. There were terrible things that occurred if a black person were to ever challenge a white person. And here she's openly referring to her attitude. So she's openly referring It's pretty cheeky, and that's not something that generally would have been dealt with at all well. I don't know if any of you have ever seen any of the films about American past history, for example, The Help, but it's certainly not an attitude that a black person would have had to a white one. And here she's even acknowledging it. So I think that's an important word, that she acknowledges her attitude. She says, yes, yes, I do have attitude, and yes, I am sassy. Why are you beset with gloom? Why are you so full? Beset sort of means full with gloom. Gloom is misery and unhappiness. Why are you so full of it? Misery and gloom. Here this is quite a lot of contrast in this between the white person's gloom and her positive attitude, her future, and not only when I say positive, her hope for the future. She's very optimistic. And she makes reference to the fact that the white person is not. So there's quite a lot of contrast. Now, also remember that this is a rhetorical question. So a rhetorical question means we're not expecting to get an answer. She's not expecting an answer. She doesn't want an answer. She's just referring to what is. Okay, cars. I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. So this is a really powerful image. And I think if you're going to talk about some of the images, it's one that you really want to consider talking about if you're writing an essay. And because there's many levels to this idea. I walk like, so here we go, we've got another simile, which I'm sure you've already figured that one out. I'll make this a bit smaller, so I've got some space here. Yep, so she's got a simile happening here. But the simile works on many levels. First of all, obviously, oil represents wealth. Okay. And also we can just think about the color as well, the reference to something that's dark, the color and glossy is very much like she's the black person. It's sort of showing the richness of her color, and talks about the wealth that she has. I think there's also other things that are going on here too. American colonials came to America in search of mineral wealth. So mineral wealth is oil, gold, diamond, those sort of things. And so what she's doing here is she's contrasting their concept of wealth and their historical search for these minerals, girls. And I'll write here equals gold, oil, and also diamonds or stones, gemstones. Okay, so I think you'd call diamonds a mineral. Anyway, so she's contrasting there this idea of mineral. They came into the country to search for oil, to search for gold. And in doing so, what they did is they plundered. Now, plunder means to take and use it, just take everything from the earth. So she's referring to what they've done in the past and how they've taken advantage and what they've done to the country. Whereas she actually just has it pumping. So for her, she has so much wealth, but her wealth is wealth in spirit. Her wealth is wealth in who she is, in her culture. That's her wealth. So that's the comparison that she's making there. Okay, then I'm going to move us down a bit there. Can you see that? All right, let's do the sun and moon bit here. Just like sun, like moons, just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of tides. So we talked about this in class, that she's using here a simile. Now, the sun and moon are what we call celestial bodies. So she's chosen to use very huge, powerful, very huge, dominant, might be the word, objects. But they're also sort of, they're forces of nature, so they're very natural. And as you know, to get the sun off its axis, or a planet off its axis, or to change its direction, would require enormous strength. These things are very constant. So they're constant because they keep coming round, and the planets keep coming round. The sun keeps coming up every day. The sun, one of the constant things we know that will never change. In fact, if it did change, our world would end. So our world as we know it would definitely end. So she's using some very, very powerful symbols of nature to show how she will still rise. And I think that this is something that you can sort of think a bit more about yourself, about what those things mean. But the tides as well, what do the tides do? What are the tides responsible for? We know the power of water, we know that, and they're also so predictable. So she's chosen some beautiful ways to show her power and her constancy, her the surety that she will be back, and she's going to come back, and she's going to rise. Did you want to see me broken? Now this is a rhetorical question, and what she's really saying is you wanted to see me broken. Okay? She's almost, me has the opposite meaning. Bowed head and lowered eyes. Now, I see a real image there of what represents a person being submissive. Submissive is an adjective that means to be very downwards, and she's very submissive here. So she's got bowed head and lowered eyes, and it's it was how a black man would have met a white person. They wouldn't have made eye contact. We spoke about that before. So she's questioning here, but she's actually saying, so you wanted to see me broken and bowed head and lowered eyes. Is that what you want? That's what you want, isn't it? Shoulders falling down like teardrops. Now here we've got another simile. And of course, she's referring not only to the shape, but the teardrop is the sadness, the falling, the pain, weakened by my soulful cries. She's really referring here to the incredible pain, and not just hers, but that all her people have had because of the way that they've been treated. Now, just going back a little bit here, girls, I just want to bring another thing to your attention.